so they'll know your name. Sam. What's your last name?
Higdon.
Higdon. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got it right, man. First time.
Higdon.
Yeah.
So you a native of Newfoundland?
Yep, this is where I'm from. Newfoundland, is that I say it? Newfoundland.
Newfoundland. Yeah.
Yep, you got it. Again, you got it right. People don't get that right, man.
Newfoundland. Yeah.
Yep.
That's like Viking country, isn't it?
Well, there's Lansing Meadows, and then on the north coast, there's an old Viking settlement there that they have done up like almost like a museum.
Really?
Where you can go and see like longhouses and all that stuff.
Really? Probably have a lot of native indigenous.
Well, we did, but they killed them all. See?
Yeah. That
they had the Beothuk. They had the Beothuk were here, and they got wiped out.
Wow.
So there's none of them. But now there is other people like of different backgrounds and stuff. Yeah, sure. We got Innu and for different First Nations groups and stuff, and other groups that aren't First Nations.
I guess your beaches aren't too warm much of the year.
No, in the summertime we get warm weather, right? But it's pretty cold, wet, fog, basically a rock in the middle of the North Atlantic kind of thing.
Yeah, you're a time zone further east than the eastern time zone.
Yeah.
You mentioned, we're going to talk about, you sent me a message or a couple of messages, and you told me some things about yourself, and we'll get into that. But you also mentioned Franco, and I was just curious.
Yeah.
I was just curious if you wanted to elaborate on that a little bit. Like, when did you find Franco de Nicola, and how did that, where did that go?
Well, early in my when my spiritual awakening got going, I hooked into Collective Evolution, the website.
Yeah.
And they had CETV, and he had a program on there.
That was years. That was like 12 years ago.
Yeah, but I only discovered it 2 years ago.
Oh,
right?
okay.
I'm new,
So you were looking
a couple
at
of years,
right.
Prior to pandemic, I was totally asleep. I had no idea, right?
Oh, right.
I'm new, but I found it and I watched his. Like he described a lot of metaphysics, of his human entities and all this stuff, and it was a piece that I needed to be able to understand.
Okay. So this happened. Okay. So this happened right when the pandemic occurred, because I know a lot of people, quote unquote, woke up or leveled up, early part of 2020, and so you came across his videos on Collective Evolution. Did you find the SoulSpeaks 5Ds that him and I did?
Yes, that's how I know who you are, because it came up my YouTube feed, right?
All right, I got you. Yeah, cool. Yeah, we did 52 shows together. Yeah. So you were there. You chimed into Franco, and of course he was doing the Advancing Consciousness, him and Kimberly.
Yep.
And then you went through the whole thing last year when he transitioned about this time. It was actually I think 2 days from now. So it's not a coincidence.
It was day after my birthday.
When's your birthday?
My birthday is tomorrow.
Okay.
Tomorrow.
Happy birthday and happy Franco Day after. So that must have been, so up until COVID, up until early 2020, were you becoming aware that something was going on? Were you feeling anything? And was there an incident or something that occurred that made you go, whoa, and then you find Franco? Or?
Well, several years ago, when I was in university, I'd actually been in university and wasn't well from depression, and I ended up running out of student loans and stuff. So I worked for like 4 years in a hardware store, and when I came back from working in the hardware store, I had enough money saved to finish my degree. And at that time, I was alone. I didn't have a girlfriend, so I would come home from school or from work, and I would be, to myself, a lot of quiet time. And I started just learning how to meditate a bit, and I actually started doing a bit of out of body, but hilariously, I could never figure out how to get out of the room, Like whatever was going on in my mind, I would be out of my body, I'd be on the roof, I'd be moving around, but I couldn't figure out how to get anywhere, right? And so, life kind of moved on, and I, finished my degree, went to work, married, kids, all that stuff, and life was kind of like normal. But now things are very different. So it did have there was a hint of it, right? And looking back on my life and things that have happened, I can totally tell, there's more going on than I realized.
Yeah. Did you go through this greater awakening in early 2020 with family and other people in the house, or was it by yourself?
Oh no, with my family in my house, I'd say I just about drove everybody crazy because I turned into one of those truther type people for a while, where you're trying to figure it out, because I was figuring stuff out, right? Plain and simple, right? And my intuition was going kind of crazy, so wow. I didn't understand, yeah, I went to a naturopath for one of my kids, just talking to the naturopath, and he said, from talking to me, he said, it sounds like you're an intuitive. He said, you're an intuitive. He said, you should talk to someone local who knows about that stuff so you can figure it out, right? And so he told me about an intuitive healer, and also another lady who does like coaching for CEOs. Like, she uses her intuition to guide them in their careers or whatever. And so I made contact with both of them, and yeah, the information that they gave me, I learned the technique where you, I call it the quiet mind technique, where you meditate with no intention. Right. You do that every day. I think it's a Rosicrucian technique or something, but I started doing that, and well, everything just kept going from there then, right? Like,
what kind of things were happening to you? You were just getting revelations and epiphanies, or were you having like entities communicate with you, or aspects of yourself communicate with you?
Well, when I realized kind of like what was happening in the world and the nature of reality from my perception, at the time anyway, I figured, I need to do something. You know how you go through that phase of, man, we got to stop this, right? We got to, right? These days I don't think that way at all, but like it was like, yeah, right, and so I set out to give myself psychic abilities, right? And I did a lot of research, and I started talking to people and stuff, and yeah, I went for in video games how they have like automatic abilities, like where like something just happens, like like you don't need to actively press a button just because you're walking around, it happens or whatever. So I started talking and asking angels for help and stuff, and I got all kinds of responses, like nobody or nothing really non-physical talks to me, but I can feel them.
Right, of course.
I can feel them in my body, like intensely, right? And so now I have really unique clearing abilities, like energy clearing abilities. If anybody I'm around has a negative entity attachment, I automatically take all its energy, and they just get cleared temporarily while they're around me. I've also discovered through practice, I can remove them as well, which is, and by remove, again, I mean, take the energy away, right? So that it's not overwhelming the person anymore. Like, I can, if someone is upset or angry, I can dampen take the energy away and help calm them down. Like, it works good on like small kids that are freaking out and stuff like that.
Do you pull that energy into yourself, or how does that work?
It comes from below, right? Like I'm pretty much rolling in energy most of the time these days, right? Like, it's been like that for a while now. Like I feel a strong connection to the earth or Gaia or whatever you want to call it. But I connect to other things sometimes too. And I did a Reiki course the first couple levels, and I found that good. But I already knew how to do energy healing before I did it. But the second attunement gave me the ability to call things in, so I can call in for help now with it. But most of the time I do it on my own, like with, right? Yeah. So it's if I go to the grocery store and I just clear the area, like, and in the beginning, I used to get overwhelmed by it, and it like fills up your feet. I don't know if you know about this stuff. Yeah.
Well,
right.
Yeah. I mean, but yeah. No, go ahead. There's a little bit of a lag.
But now I don't have any. I figured out some techniques and stuff. I intuited a bunch of crystal stuff, things that to do with crystals that like isn't in the books and stuff, right? That right. And so I can just go and just clear away now.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
great.
It's interesting because I've this is I think we're going to hit about 4,000 shows by the end of the year. But over the years, over the shows, there's been quite a few people, especially in the early years. And typically they'd woken up the last couple of years, right? Or they were recounting stories from, say, 2012, if they woke up in 2012 or whatever. And they talk about this same thing. They talk about being able to, or being aware that they were able to soften things with others around them. Also, because this might help people now, right? And that's one of the reasons we do the show. But like, they would talk about how they were aware of this, and as they went out into public, so to speak, they had a challenge, like you, with trying to do what they needed to do while they had these offsetting multiple energies, in their field, and then kind of in their own way or through somebody's facilitation are able to find a way to kind of balance things or harmonize things before they even walk into the place. Very similar to what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you think? And I'm just curious because there's no right or wrong, but I'm just curious. Like when you are, if somebody has an attachment, or what do you call it, an implant or an attachment?
And I say negative entity is what I say, because from the soul fragment, soul retrieval perspective,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, this is good. This is good. We can go a little bit deeper too. Let me ask you this first though. So like when let's say you come across somebody, and whether you, and let's say that, by whatever, do you usually tell them and talk to them, or do you do it silently?
Yeah, I wouldn't. I'll take energy away from people, because there's negative energy everywhere, all over the place, right? Like people, just clutter and dust and everything. It's everywhere. But if someone has an attachment, I wouldn't do anything to an attachment without, talking to them, right?
Yeah. And do you think that when you talk to them and say, look, you got an attachment, they're like, yeah, I know, or whatever, and do I have permission to go in and take care of this? Do you think it's them deciding that they're ready, or is it a combination of both, or how do you explain that?
Well, with the thought forms and thought form entities, the person's frequency pulls them in. It may be they created it, but either way, it was their choice to do it. You know what I mean?
Right,
the path that they're on. It's not like they're a victim, insofar as everyone's a victim in different ways, but still, it's them.
Yeah,
it was there, because not everyone has them, right? It's
Yeah. And when you talk about negative entities, and we're really talking about charge, right? Like positive, negative. But my question
is... But sometimes they're more than that, though. Sometimes they're more than that, Todd. Sometimes they're like things that have a bit more depth to them, right? And are a bit more... They're not very nice, right?
No.
I don't know if you... Yeah.
No, I can relate to that. I'm just saying it because, even hearing these types of stories 3, 4, 5 years ago when, doing a show or whatever, the whole perspective was different. So it's kind of difficult to verbalize these things as the language and the frequencies and everything's expanding so quickly. But what I just meant was, in terms of as a practitioner, where does that energy go? Is it being removed, or is it being... I guess it's being removed if it was something that was foreign to them and they accepted it into their field. But do you also find that they have stuff inside themselves, it's all of them, that might transform or transmute or something like that, as opposed to leaving them?
For me, I just take the energy and it goes through me, down through my legs, into the ground.
Okay.
Kind of thing, right? Yeah. It's like I'm really grounded, very, very grounded. I have a friend who's a naturopath, and she's a Reiki practitioner and stuff, and a shaman or whatever, and she says I'm extremely grounded. She fixed my Earth Star chakra a while ago. It was squat up to my feet, and the flow just intensified after she did that. She's incredibly gifted, very aligned. She's a real healer,
Right. So in this last it's been 3 years, not 2 years, right? Because
pretty well 3 years
so
now.
going on 3 years that you've been reawakened. Like, what's been the craziest thing that's happened to you? Like, that just kind of you just kind of went, man, am I losing my mind?
I had a couple things like that. There's one of my dogs was I got two miniature schnauzers, right? And they're awesome, and they're like just crazy advanced souls, right? Like the whole house is just people who are people and dogs. Everyone's at stuff. Like it's wacky, but she wasn't doing very well. Her liver was in trouble and stuff, and she was like, the vet was saying she had like not long to live, and I was doing a bit of energy healing on her and stuff. And then one night, I went over to give her a bit of a blast, right? And I use different crystals and different techniques and stuff. Anyway, when I was just scanning her with the crystal, moving it across, right? I hooked into something, like you hit something, and you blast it away or whatever, and you drain it out, whichever way you want to do it. But when I did this with this thing this time, it moved.
It moved.
It moved.
In her body. It was in the dog's body.
I could feel it move, right? And I just instinctively took my crystal pointer and hooked into it, twisted it around the crystal in my arm, and pulled it out. She let out a little yelp, and
wow.
I just cleared it, and then she was tired and sleeping for a couple days, and she recovered almost completely. Like the vet can't believe that she's still alive now. This is a couple of years later now, and
wow.
She's doing great. I mean, she's got some mobility issues, and a couple of times now with her, if I just like lie down with her, she'll use me to drain things from herself, like feels like a big thing going through a pipe that doesn't fit, kind of thing, through my body, right? Because the connection that I
wow.
have with her. So yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
So.
And where did the energy go
died.
When you pulled the energy out with the onto your crystalline arm? Where did you put it into the ground then?
I tried to, yeah. That was my thing, and then I learned after, like you can do different things, right? Just different ways to go about it.
Right.
But that's one thing. I mean, I've had one of my big things is I meet people who are awake and have abilities on a regular basis, and I have a bunch of friends that I met like online, and even locally I found some ones that have like incredible gifts, right? Like it's something to do with me, like I identify with that whole Rainbow Warriors concept, that Hopi prophecy or whatever, and apparently people who have good vision, good psychic vision, because I can't see that much. I see a scatter thing here and there, but I'm much more a feeler than anything. I've been told that I'm just like a rainbow, just
rainbow
shooting out or whatever.
Rainbow rays.
Like my field is like just I don't know.
So how has these last 3 years affected your human life? Have you had to switch jobs? Have you had any difficulties? Have you been estranged from your family? The normal things that most of these people have gone through?
I think, in the beginning when I was trying to save the world and stuff, like you would, right? Someone got to do
Everybody
it.
did it. Just so you know, Sam, everybody did it. Part of the protocol is you wake up and then you see them post, and you probably did this, and they'll post, "Why is nobody listening to me? They all think I'm crazy. We got to save them." So we know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so I just about drove my wife crazy, but she was very awake anyway. So like, with my family, maybe a bit of strain here and there, but everyone's pretty sensible, everyone tries to get along and stuff. But some of my friends, some of my good buddies that I tried to talk to, I probably pushed too hard,
Yeah.
And just they were just like, I don't want to hear this stuff or whatever. And
well, you might as well rip the Band-Aid off, right? After all this time, we still have Band-Aids to rip off. It seems like.
Yeah, it's true, man. It's totally true.
There's been a lot said in the last few weeks with the energies pounding the earth. I don't know how else to put it. Especially like even the last 3 or 4 days. Do you, in your household, with all those synchronistic souls of the same frequency bands, Do you guys go through the highs and lows of the energies as they pound on the earth?
Yeah, we definitely notice a difference. And like for me, I stopped keeping track of it because there's just so much energy all the time. You know what I mean? Like, but you go over the past few years, it's gone in cycles and stuff, kind of analogous to what everyone says, right? But honestly, for the past, say, I don't know, 5 or 6 months, with the exception of maybe a couple of weeks somewhere, is a bit low. There's just so much energy available. Like if I actively try to get it, it just comes right to my head like all the time, right? So, and I mean, it wasn't like that in the beginning. Oh, here's an unrelated story, just thinking about stuff from in the beginning. One time a couple of years ago, I was outside, and I looked up, and the sun was black. I don't know if you know what that is.
Come again?
It was black. Like, it
What
was
do you mean?
black. It wasn't an eclipse. It was black in the sky when I looked up. Yeah.
Was there any clouds?
There was no whole lot of clouds. No. It wasn't covered with clouds.
Did anyone else?
Why.
See, these things are fascinating to me. This happened to
Yeah,
me.
no one. That's why I mentioned it, because it's a weird thing that came to my head, so I figured I'd pop it out.
So, how long did you see this happening?
Well, I had to go back inside. I didn't have
Okay.
a lot of time, because I was working or whatever, right? I was bringing a
Wow.
dog out or something, right?
So it was a
But I
black
totally-
sun. Wow.
And now, when you look up in the sky, do you see like static or fireflies or anything? Because I know a bunch of people that do, right? When they look up in the sky, they see like and I can see it sometimes, right? You know that when you're
Static?
meditating and you kind of.
No, I've seen a couple of times. I've seen, I guess you would say, the grid. And
Yeah, I can see the grid too.
and
Yeah.
and I've also seen at least a couple of times where. I know it's going to sound weird, and I'm not saying this is truth. We're just talking about things we've experienced, and that is the truth. The sky was an overlay, or the sky as an overlay, or the cosmos as an overlay.
Yeah.
So I've spent a lot of times. This was actually started in Sedona in 2018, and one night, and ever since then. Even a little bit prior to that, my relationship with celestial beings has kind of changed. I mean, I spend, I hadn't really thought about it until right now, but I spend a bit of time talking to the energies of different celestial bodies, or even like a cloud formation, or stuff like that. But in terms of seeing things, yes and no. It always seems to be on the peripheral. But yes, occasionally see things directly. Yeah. Even going back about 10 years.
Do you have a water filter?
No, I don't have a water faucet.
I just didn't know if you noticed, because there's something about water filters and making that pure water that they have an energy about them. Like, I go in someone's house and they've got like a Berkey on the counter or whatever, and like you can feel it,
Yeah.
right? And that's just interesting because, like, it's because water is so important, and the quality of the water is so important to our physical health and stuff too, right?
Yeah.
We're water beings, I guess, in some way.
Absolutely, we are. Well, and even like you take an example like that, like how much of it is the filter, how much of it is the intention of the owners of the house to have a pure experience, and how much of it is the intention of the people that made the water filter. Like, what if you had a water filter that was made by people of nefarious intentions, like the people behind fluoride, you know what I mean? Versus somebody who's, I know a friend I went to high school with. I remember back since 2012 when I started doing what I'm doing. He's been doing that. He's been producing a water filter system that's like $175, or at least it was then. But yeah, so like somebody that's really got their heart into it, that would be. But yeah, I think overall that makes sense, that you would have a pure water would make for a pure environment, right?
Totally.
So, in terms of your two little souls, did you say they were schnauzers? What were they?
Yeah, miniature schnauzers. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, my dad had a schnauzer. I don't know if they were miniature. I think it was miniature. They were kind of gray color.
Yeah.
They were pretty gray. But like, do you what's your relationship with them? Have you found that since early 2020, when this started happening to you to the degree it has, have you found your relationship with them changing? Because a lot of people talk about their relationship with animals, their ability and clarity of communication enhances.
Yeah, there's like a non-verbal automatic understanding that I have of pretty much anything. Like, I know when I'm being looked at for a treat, from the back of my head. Like, I can tell I get that treat out. Yep, I totally understand what you're talking about, and that's definitely true, right? Yeah, but again, I'm more aware than I ever was anyway, just right. In general, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And what about your family? Do they have any type of did they ever come to you like, Dad, you know what happened to me? Something was in my room, or, I had a weird dream.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I clear things because, like, the thing is, like, I don't know, these, sometimes there's, like, little, I guess they're thought form entities. People bring them in, and, like, with the extra metal people got in their bodies these days, a lot of people, they seem to be kind of filled up with them. You know what I mean? They're maggoty with them sometimes, right? Uh-huh. They got a lot of things living in them, right?
Right.
So we started using tourmaline on the doors. We put it around our doors, and it catches the things as they come in. And it's hilarious, Todd. It's hilarious because I take them and I clear them every now and then. And when I pick them all up in my hand, and then I can feel them crawling all over my body in different places, right? And then I'll put them out like in the moonlight to clear them or whatever, right? But and then around the house sometimes you have things. We had trouble for a while, people bringing stuff in before we did that, but we've kind of made it a bit more clean in the house now because we kind of stop them at the door.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And but I mean, it's not uncommon for there to be like, something happened, and then I go into a room and there's something there, and I get rid of it, and then there's something else, and then it's like, well, I got to clear that thing properly, like, and it takes a bit of effort to drain, right?
I don't know, man. I just have this thing since like 2016. I just open my heart and tell them to come on in. That works for me. I'm not going to advise it for anyone else. But,
Todd, I do that too. But sometimes it's kind of like, this is not making somebody very happy or whatever. So like, just come back later or something, right? Right?
Yeah, I'm just saying, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I get you. Yeah, because I had this like with my daughter in 2014. She had eventually it was the removal of a ancestral kind of long-term lineage thing. A friend of mine helped me get it out, but prior to that, I drove it out twice. Because I was in the early stages of, or say less awareness, and I was like, you know what, I'm pure light or whatever, and you're not welcome here, and boom, gone. But then it would come back. But so, God, I was going to ask you something too. Oh, so especially like with, what's happened to you, and this is really interesting because I can't recall. I'm sure we've talked to a couple of people that kind of woke up. In fact, I know we have, but I can't recall the conversations that woke up around the time you did or reawoke. In correlation with and the timing of COVID. So over the years, there's been talk that these types of entities, those energies or entities that support them, have been being depleted by one way or another, depending on what narrative you're talking about. The reptilians have been jettisoned out of this solar system, or archons have been shut down, or the projector of the inverted matrix has been shut down, which would have coincided with COVID coming on, where the distortion would no longer play out, but only in our heads. But I guess what I'm getting at, are you feeling in the field, can you feel collectively, like worldwide or even regionally, can you feel things getting lighter, or do you feel like there's still some type of battle going on between polarities that have a distortion?
I mean, there's still a lot of stuff happening. I mean, I think it comes down to an individual person, because like a lot of people, it's their own thought processes that got them into this place to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's either something they created themselves, or something that they pulled in from the collective because of their frequency and the other thought forms that they had. So I don't really have like a global view or a regional view that way, other than because like to me, what I notice is how much easier the energy has gotten.
That's
right,
what I'm
for me
talking.
to get how much stronger I've gotten and quicker I've gotten at doing stuff. How many things I've figured out to be able to do things I couldn't do before. Right. And but that's just, I see that as like my personal growth as I go. But at the same time, we're all the one thing, right? So
as the individual goes,
maybe as I notice, my observations of myself is really a reflection of everything. That's the best answer I can probably give you.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. As an individual goes, so goes a collective. And really so you're answering in the affirmative, because basically what you're saying is things have gotten lighter. And people can explain that in different ways. Like you hear a lot of people talking about, man, every month that's gone by in the last few years, the energies come faster, they come fuller. The cycles are still the same, except for I'm able to bring it in, process it, and equalize much quicker than in the past. So that's another way of saying things have kind of lightened up a little bit. It's not as much work. It's not as strenuous. Anything you want to add to that?
Well, I received the healing gift of love and compassion, like from I don't know, non-physical things a while ago. And it was a shift in me when I got it. Like my Reiki practitioner delivered the message to me, and then I had to accept it. And when that happened, I was able to clear things without nearly as much trouble, without nearly as much, worrying about keeping myself as clear and stuff, because it would just flow through better. Like it was more like a clean path, a cleaner path than what it was before. Right. That's definitely like I could look that date up and say, after that day, things shifted, right? And I've been seeing this the whole way along. It's just a constant progression, right? We're heading in the right direction. We're already there, and all those things that people say, right? But like, I don't have any concern about anything that happens anymore. I'm just kind of like, let's just have fun, right? Like, if you're not having fun, then what's the point, right?
Well, I agree. I agree. Because that's all we have right now. Just what we have right now.
Yeah.
Really, I mean, it's it sounds hardcore, but it's not, because the linear is fading away. So, you and I might come together today, and hey, let's collaborate again down the road. And in the old world, we'd start forcing that. When's it going to happen? What are we going to do? You know what I mean? Other than now it's more like, it's even like trying to schedule the show. It's like I'm sending messages to people and I'm saying, let's do a show in the next 2-3 days. That's about all I can look at. But I forgot why I was saying that, but that's okay. Have you noticed any changes through this last 3 years with your body? Have you noticed any evidence of a transformation biologically, physically, etc.?
Well, yeah, I would say yes. I mean,
do you feel like your immunity is stronger?
I can, if you were here, or even you are, and you're starting to get like a cold, I can take that away, no problem.
What do you mean? No.
I can drain the energy from it.
No, I don't have a cold. That's a good.
No, but I mean, if you did have one, I said I could.
Yeah. No, what I was asking is, have you noticed within your own body any changes? And it doesn't have to be physical or biological. I mean, it could be just things like you talked about being able to leave your body. You couldn't get out of the room or off the roof, but like, have you noticed? Because people talk about the conversion from the carbon base to the crystalline body. And
100%. I understand. Yeah.
I mean, what do you know about that? I mean, do you pick up anything from crystals? Are you getting more clear information? Or anything that you can offer?
Well, I started first, feeling it in my legs, right? energy in my legs, but now I could feel it anywhere in my body. I had Spanda for a while. You know, the vibrating heart. You know what I'm talking about?
No.
Right? No. So like whenever I would meditate.
Okay, like palpitations, like.
Yeah, kind of like that. If I would take a quick nap or I would meditate, as soon as I woke up, it would just be like vibrating, like just super fast, right? And that was like a bit strange to begin with, but over time, I think I burnt everything out and cleared myself enough, like, and grew enough that there's nothing there anymore. You know what I mean? There's no, right? Now, don't get me wrong. Sometimes with the energy, my heart will be like, I can feel it, like, you know, in my chest, just like vibrating, like super fast.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, you know? You hear a lot of people talk about that. I have that happen to me. Not so much anymore, but going back about 3 years, there would be times I'd have to sit down on the couch. I'm like, am I having a heart attack? You know, like it's almost like,
well, it's not as. Sorry.
Well, it wasn't painful, but it was such a foreign, alien feeling. To have that intensity, you think something's wrong with you, but there's not.
Well,
right?
I got a good one. This is good. So, if I'm typing a message to somebody, and like, you know, like I have some strong emotions about it, and maybe I'm having a response where I'm like, oh man, I don't like what this person just said, and I'm going to say something back to them or whatever, or I have the wrong intention. I feel it in my head, like it's like a warning. And then I just don't do it, and I just write a new message. That's in your body, right? Yeah,
I think
cool,
people.
right?
I think people can relate to that. I've experienced that, almost like a pressure. Yeah.
Yep.
And
totally.
I can't really recall it happening recently, but I remember when it came in, and it happened like, I don't know how it would have happened, like, you know, that I would recall, but it became natural, I guess. So like it didn't even happen anymore, kind of thing. But I remember when it did. I think, is that real? Is that me telling me not to do that? You know, it's like, is that my ego telling my ego? You know, or is that something else? Yeah, interesting.
Well, when I say a lot of things that someone needs to hear, I'll get, like, you know, a lot of energy, and I'll get really cold in my body, you know, and start shaking and stuff, right? Yeah. Like that happens to me. Like I'll know if I'm supposed to keep talking, because the energy kicks in, and it's just like telling me, basically, you know, you need to keep going. You know, this person needs to hear this or whatever, right? And so there's a lot of people who I've talked to, and like, you know, I, you know, give them a couple of pointers or something along the way so they can keep going. But I don't follow anybody along, you know, and make sure everyone's, you know, they're on their own. Everyone's on their own in this thing anyway. Like, you know, you can form relationships and stuff, but the awakening process itself, it's a very individual thing that you have to do, right?
Yeah. Row, row, row your boat.
Yeah, pretty much, right?
Life is but a dream. It's your boat. And how old are the kids in your house?
9 and 4.
We've had young people on the show. I don't know if you know that. We've had young people on the show, and then we've had their parents as well talking about their young folks. And there's a lot of interesting stories. From I go to the Rainbow World. You know, it was my friend from Texas. You know, her 5-year-old. You know, always telling her, I went to the Rainbow World last night. There's a rainbow cat in the driveway. The mother, who's very lit, can't see it. To, you know, I'm from the Blue Planet. I came here because I'm an aero engineer, or I came here to, you know, where they have this information that's coming out of nowhere, or just knowing things. Do you get any of that from your kids? Do you pick up at all on anything that's maybe that they're carrying that you notice is not typical as to where we've come from?
Not specifically, no.
Okay. Yeah.
Not really, no. Because you know, we just let them be kids and stuff, and like it's one of those things where you have that balance too of, like, you know, you want to enable them and give them enough information, but then they have to function in society too, right?
They gotta
right?
make their own choices, right?
Yeah. So you know, we you know, I'm just grateful, and to have the family and the life that I have. Like, I mean, I'm very lucky. I mean, I don't stop, man. Like, I'm a flat out person. I get up like 5:30 in the morning and I go to bed at like 11:30 or 12 o'clock every night. Wow. Right? And I work in the day, and then I just wash dishes and cook and clean and, you know, whatever else I got to do. It's very busy.
And there's obviously over the years, even the last 3 years, there's been a lot of talk about couples that are doing the work together as well as individually, you know. And of course, there's a lot of talk about the dance between the masculine energies and feminine energies, not to be confused with male and female, although it plays out a bit in male and female. Have you noticed that in your relationship with your partner? The fluctuations and the dance between the masculine and feminine, how's that affected y'all, if so, and how did you get through it?
Yeah, no, we've come a long way. It's been a long road, and that's just the way that it is. I think when it comes to relationships and stuff, I'm what's the word? Endurist or endurism or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm
like hedonism?
I don't give up on it.
Oh.
I don't. Well, no.
Just messing with you.
I just mean I don't give up on things ever.
You're in it for the long haul. You're in it for the long haul.
Yeah, that's right. And so, you know, over time things have changed, and things kind of go in cycles and stuff. But things have gotten really good, and I just wish we had like millions of dollars so that we could just do more for the world right now. So we got to try to find a way to get like millions of dollars on the go, you know, so we can try to make some impact or something.
Very cool. Very honest answer. What would you say is the number one thing to keep you on board? I'm talking about you individually. Forget everybody else. Like, just day in, day out. What are your like 3 go-tos? Like, to meditate, to, you know, spend 10 minutes with yourself every day, or whatever it is. Like 3 things that you just said, okay, if there's only 3 things I could do from here out that I would do every day, what would they be?
I think probably meditate would be number 1. Mm-hmm. That's for sure. You know, and you know, the interaction with family and like other people, socials, just talking, just being not by myself and having other people to interact with and stuff is very, very important to me. And I wouldn't give up these crystals, man. I got some stuff figured out with this stuff, like, and you know, it's. I feel like as time goes on, it's just going to get stronger, and it's going to be more and more possible and more figured out. Like, I feel like now, if like I had the resources and stuff, I could like build things that might do something that, you know, right? You know what I'm talking about, right? And that kind of stuff, right? So we'll see where we get to now in the next while.
You mentioned, and again, I've heard, you know, a number of people, not a vast number of people, but the way you speak of the crystals, and it sounds like you have a pretty good connection with the crystals, and it sounds like they give you information, and they also help you, assist you with your practitionership. What are you picking up from the crystals? Are they going to be a bigger part of our existence? Are they a consciousness as a group? Or, you know, what's your relationship with crystals? You said you're going to stick with them.
Well, they're different. Crystals feel different and are better for different things. Mm-hmm. You know, we have this overlaid energy system, the rainbow, you know, what's it called, parasitic energy system, or whatever you want to call it, right? And so the different colors are very useful that way. But something like clear quartz is very awesome and flowy, and lately I've taken to using crystals that can't hold negative energy.
Okay.
Right? And for me, it's like what used to be a tangle to do, like, you know, I'm going to clear this person remotely, and I'm going to use 20 crystals to do it, right? Now I can do it, and I might not even make one of them dirty, you know, like, need to be cleansed because of that. But like I don't get a whole lot of information from them. I guess there's a dragon aspect to it. with the dragons, right?
I was gonna ask you about specific. Go ahead, keep going. I want to go back to that.
Yeah, I have dragon energy or whatever, and I have dragons, and they're connected to these crystals. Just one crystal I have that's like basically part of me now, right? And one time I was just lying on the bed meditating, like you would, right? And like with me, with the kids and stuff, I'll just get a chance to pop down, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna crash for 10 minutes or something like that. And when I came out of my like meditation, just coming out that wonderful period where you get cool things, I look and there's this big pixelated gold dragon head next to me, and it said, "I've come to heal you." And I thought he said, "Eat me first." I wasn't scared, but I was like, "What did you say?" And then I realized what he said, right? Yeah. And then he just faded away, and I was just like, "Oh, cool."
I've come to heal you.
That's not. I said it wrong. Come to help you heal. That's what he said.
Help you heal. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, like, I know I got help around here helping me all the time that way, right? Like, it's cool, right? And I've met so many people too who have these connections and stuff. Like, there's so many stories. Like, I mean, it's great that you do what you do, getting people on talking about it. But there's so many people out there that have things to say and things to share that probably, aren't really telling anybody,
Yeah.
Because like people think that they're alone or they don't understand, or I mean, anything is possible. But like, there's definitely like commonalities and stuff that you can see, like you've seen in talking to people, right? So like things are attainable, like as a goal. Like everyone in the beginning is trying to get their third eye open. It's probably been open your whole life,
Yeah.
You probably just don't know, right? You just don't understand what that really means or whatever, right?
How do you think things will go collectively in the near
now?
Yeah, like I mean, people say so many different things, from solar flash to World War III to Nasara to just, I mean, spaceships landing, fake alien invasion. I mean, is that even a relevant question, or should we just be focusing on ourselves and our life, those circles closest to us?
I think the latter part is probably more relevant. But that said, I mean, when this pandemic happened, right, the people who could access Akashic records and stuff, a lot of people were saying different things. But good friends of mine were saying that the satellites are going to fall out of the sky, right, and electricity was going to be knocked out globally, right? Something would change so there'd be no electricity. And that drove me to read and learn as much as I could, because I figured I could be of more use to people that way back in the day. And then, the pandemic happened like it did, and everything kind of went sideways. It's almost like we lost like 2.5 or 3 years of time, but now it seems like we're back on track again. And I'm not saying the satellites are going to fall out of the sky, but I think whatever's been happening here lately was, effery, or whatever you want to call it, right? And now we're going to start moving forward at a faster rate. Like, I think things are going to start happening that are going to start waking people up faster.
Yeah.
But that's where I sit, right?
Yeah, we got a sister coming on Friday. We got a couple. Valerie Elsner. I don't know. Close. Valerie A. Elsner, I think. Anyway, like a lot of these women, she has some pretty good intel, and I've noticed in the last like 5 or 6 days, her and a few others, I won't name names, but I mean, they're saying the same thing. And that's what I'm getting. Like I hear them saying something, or I'm reading their words, and that's why I'm trying to get them all on. And they're talking about, they're not, it's weird because you hear a lot of people talking about this is being cleared right now, or this is going on, but they're talking in terms of, I guess, the other side of it. Like, in other words, I guess if I had to paraphrase it, and I guess we'll find out Friday, it's all coming in so fast, like you said, that the changes are, I know it sounds weird, but they're very noticeable, but they're undetectable. They're happening so fast that the speed of the experience, I guess you would say, is part of the experience now. You know what I mean? I don't know if that makes sense, but like get used to it. Like you were saying earlier about the energies, it seems to be every day. Yeah, there seems to be a full moon. There seems to be a 11/11. There seems to be a power day almost every single day. It's like every day, get used to it. This is the speed that we're going to be living by. I don't know, something like that. We'll find out when she comes on and the other one. So yeah, anything else you want to talk about before we get out of here? You want to sing a song or do a dance or channel? I'll
tell you another just another little story, because when I was digging into this stuff in the beginning, right, just getting my feet, there was a guy on YouTube named Michael. It's Everyday Life. I don't know if you've seen him on YouTube. He I don't know if you've seen him, probably.
What's his name?
I don't know. Anyway, Michael Della Rocca, I think.
Oh, maybe I've seen that name. I don't know who it is. So yeah, Della Rocca.
Yeah. Well, anyway, he drew a big crowd, right, of people.
Right.
Like, and he was on his Telegram chat. I was on there, and on there I met these women, these psychics, and what they call themselves, like basically the divine feminine. They're in the meme war. You know the meme war, where people send the memes, right? On the internet and try to change everything by sending a picture or some uplifting words or whatever.
Oh wow.
You know what I'm talking about? There's a whole group.
So they just flood people with positive memes when they're out of alignment.
Yeah, that's what they do. They all have their own life, but like, they all kind of came through there, and I made good friends with a bunch of them. And now, like, there's one Telegram group that I'm in, and it's just, they're just, good to each other and just being positive and stuff, and, watching everything happen. And, it's really neat because, a lot of those people have like, interesting backgrounds and gifts and stuff like that. Like, you could hook into a few of those guys to get on here. That'd probably be interesting to people. But they've been a huge influence on me, right? Because
right.
Right. It's just having people who are similar, and everyone's at a different level of understanding and stuff too, right? Because I could take duality or leave it, but like, I find the enjoyment and the fun of living in that stuff is better than just sitting outside and not bothering with it. You know what I mean?
Well,
it's not really as exciting,
Yeah. Well, and I think the other thing too is we've learned what it's like to experience the downside, let's say, from a human perspective, or the negative side, charge, speaking of magnetics, of the negative side. Now we have a chance, or we're creating and experiencing the other side. Like, what happens when we don't have the drama? What happens when there's even more continuity in the field every day that we wake up, be it in going to the grocery store or even worldwide? So, it feels like, and you followed Franco. I mean, his timeline is 2023. We're going to be seeing some major changes in a very positive way by the end of the year. But again, as he would always say, and others have said, any forecast that's made is susceptible to change, or it does change, whatever way it might, from the point that it's been prophesized, basically, because nothing remains the same. But do you feel like we're going to be moving into a higher collective frequency in the next year or two? Do you feel that? Can you feel that in your own field?
Well, just from I know, like, some people, because I've met different people with different backgrounds and all this stuff, but like, some people say, like, don't watch television, right? Oh, it's evil. And it is, sure, in some ways, right? But I mean, it's still ours, right? We made it, and
right.
So there's good in everything, right?
Yeah.
So I wouldn't throw anything out. So I keep up on the news, but not by reading all the news. I have a couple of people that I just follow, who give me the good stuff. And near as I can tell, this pandemic thing is going to turn around and like blow up in everyone's face. It's very close.
Yeah, Yeah,
right? Like, I mean, it's like,
it does feel like it. I mean, there's a lot of propaganda both ways out there, and we got to remember
well,
that.
I mean, we have here where I'm to, the former premier of this province is in a lawsuit against the government because of the travel bans for the mandates, saying you had to vax pass or you vaccinated to fly and all this stuff. And I think from what I can tell, the court case is going very well for him, but there isn't one media outlet there. There's no one there covering it. Like,
they're not.
You're just ignoring it, right? So,
yeah. Well,
when that verdict comes down,
I wonder if that's the same. Oh, leg.
No, go ahead.
I wonder if that's the same guy. This guy I think he was Canadian. Matter of fact, I know he was Canadian. He was I don't know if this was the right term, but health minister. He was like the Surgeon General in the U.S., and I don't know if it was a state in Canada, a province, or if it was, I think it was like regional. And so he served during COVID, and he just came out and said on Twitter that there's enough results in now, and I don't know what the why I want to say 70%, but I can't remember what that was attributed to. But there's enough results now that specifically men between the ages of, I think it was 20 and 50, have had a vast increase in the heart, issues, the myocarditis, whatever the heck that's called. And then they banned them off Twitter. This was like less than a week ago. So I know there's still a lot of stuff going back and forth and all that, and I guess at the end of the day, that's why I asked that question of you a while earlier, because it's almost like every single thing, certainly the things in the global stage, certainly all the narratives, whether it be the Anunnaki or coming back on Nibiru, or there's a secret space, all that stuff. And I'm not saying none of it's real, because I respect everybody's reality, but it's distracting to the personal development. And certainly, if it's distracting to the personal development, it's distracting to the personal relationships in our lives. Because, I don't know. I mean, people talk about soul tribe, and they talk about soul mates, soul family, monads, and I know that's all got its place, I'm sure. But it just would seem to me that our bloodline would have some serious spiritual value, in our makeup. Like Ram Dass would say, if you think you're awake, go spend some time with your family. I mean, we all know how that goes. But at the same time, are those not our greatest opportunities? I don't know.
Totally. Yeah, I think that it's a very valid thing to say. And from a world perspective and like what's happening, it's just you have to navigate it, right? You had to know enough of what's happening. Like, do I need to get out of here before the Chinese army comes or whatever? You know what I mean? Right?
To hell with it. Somebody wants to kill me, I'm ready. Let's go. Whatever.
Yeah.
I think we've come too far
I need to run on it. Yeah.
You hear a lot of people.
I agree, but I'm just joking around, man.
No.
I believe the same as you, right?
Dude, I question everything. I consider everything to be a potential program. Everything could be a potential program. Ascension could be a program.
But maybe programming is what we need, man. Have you considered that? Maybe we need the programming.
Well,
in some form, right?
Yeah, if we need the programming, I totally agree. We need programming, but it needs to be us programming. Everyone needs to program themselves. Everybody needs to stay in their own lane.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like any relationship that has, let's just say, that's in the highest percentiles of synergy, there's going to be, you know what I mean? There's I guess a respect or whatever, like business, personal, anything, where you allow the other energy to flow the way it wants to flow. Again, you're not forcing anything. This is a whole new paradigm that we're stepping into, from the inside out. So it's like you see a lot of people now, they're like claiming their power. And it's interesting because then there's no right or wrong, but sometimes you squeeze the bar too hard, sometimes you squeeze it too loose and it falls out of your hand. But it's like people are finding their power, and it's creating in a positive way good stress on the old grid. People choosing themselves. It's an interesting time. It must be really interesting sitting in your seat for the last 3 years.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a wild ride, and I definitely don't think about things the same as I did a year ago or 2 years ago. Like, I'm very much mellow right out, and like, I'm whatever, bring it on, like you said, right? We'll just sit here and watch the lava pour out of the sky or whatever can happen, right? Whatever it is. Yeah, it's not a big deal. It's all for fun, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think there is a significant. I don't know. Once you start going, it never stops, right? I think the best thing is to sit down and have conversations, certainly with ourselves and then with other people, just to compare notes, because it's the stuff that's not being reported, like you were talking about over there with that guy in the court system, that's not being written about. So we got to talk about it. We got to go mainstream. Man, it was a pleasure meeting you, Sam.
Yeah, you too, Todd. I appreciate you having me on, and I really appreciate the work that you do. I think you're doing a great thing.
I appreciate it, and I thank you very much. We might be back later tonight with a 5 or 6 hour channel feed like we've been playing the last couple of days, and we've got some shows Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So look forward to connecting again and coming back online. And peace out, brother. Best to you.
Thanks,
and yours.
Todd. Have a good one.